Hey, will cooling inflation lead to a red-hot Santa Claus rally? Join me today because this could help put money in your pocket before the end of 2023. Plus, I'm going to show you a secret about TQQQ that's going to blow your mind. Let's jump into it right now. Remember that all the materials we do present are for training purposes. Traders should always paper trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital. Let's go ahead and jump into today's session. I want to welcome Anil. Let's go ahead and jump into our first index this week, which is the spiders. And stay tuned because I'm going to share some really interesting things with you about the spiders that you may or may not know. Not about the spiders, excuse me, about a leverage ETF connected to the Qs. And so hang on, and I'll show you why leverage ETFs can sometimes give you a false picture. So let's go ahead and jump over to the Qs, to the S&P. What I'm seeing with the S&P, Anil, is I'm seeing a couple of different things. I'm seeing one, that we are in a zone of past resistance, as we see here. We haven't got all the way back up to the high that we met back in the July timeframe. However, it is working its way up. I have no reversal signal here whatsoever that would say, get out of a trade or basically go short. Nothing. I have my momentum. Yes, it is well overbought, and we would expect that to roll back over. Not necessarily for a huge sell-off, but a pullback. Where's an ideal place for it to pull back to? Into this gap up right there. Into that gap up right there. And so if it pulls back into that gap, then that would give us an opportunity to take a trade on the spiders or the leveraged ETF for the spiders. But I would be looking at coming back down towards this downward trend line. And then what will oftentimes happen, it'll put a reversal at the trend line or close to it and kiss the trend goodbye with the intention that it is going to go higher from there. That would be an ideal situation for the spiders as we look forward into 2024. But I'm looking for a potential really strong move going into the rest of the year. So spiders, yeah, looking okay. As I said, look for a pullback back into the midsection of last week's candle, which is right in the middle of this gap up. So that's what I've got going on for the spiders. The next one up I'm going to cover is the Russell. Russell is still the weakest link. At the same time, though, the Russell is showing us some seasonality. Russell tends to rally during the latter part of the year, run through approximately the February to March timeframe, and it'll have a really strong run. That may be what we're seeing right here. The Russell is below the 200-day moving average, so we need to break out above that and get some, to basically put some air under its wing to fly higher into this resistance zone up here. Note, we've got a big gap up here. So this whole gap on the Russell, or IWM, that is a huge level of support, with the middle section of it being the strongest level of support. You'll note that, what does that correspond to? Well, if I go over here, and as you can see, the middle of the big candle this week, if I just draw a little line across from the middle of that and click it in, you see it's just into that gap up level, therefore reinforcing that is a strong level of support. The thing I'm looking for on IWM, if I were to trade it, because I was a real toss-up today whether I was going to go with the leverage ETF on IWM or the actual leverage ETF that I went with. But I would look, folks, for a pullback into the 820-day moving average, right about there, right about that area right there. And then it'd be a great trade with TNA, expecting it to move higher from there. What will propel the Russell higher? Continued lower inflation, the Fed coming out and saying, yeah, we're not going to raise rates anymore. And I think we can kind of take that off the table, that they're not going to raise rates anymore for the rest of the year. And last but not least, just the seasonality. I will look for, I would look for a trade back off of, maybe the 50-day moving average, which is right about 174.96. Now, let's go ahead and jump over into the next piece, which the next piece is the the Qs. Now the Qs, I'm going to share something special with you about the Qs today. Is one, note how we've gapped up here and it has hit the past resistance from this area right here. Whoever was buying here basically it was very disappointing because they had to ride it all the way down to here. So there's probably plenty of sellers still there in that little zone there. However, as soon as the sellers are exhausted and gone, this has a potential of breaking and moving higher, moving to the next area of resistance that we see over here, where more sellers are probably sitting there hanging out, ready for it to wanting to get even with the trade that they started making back latter part of actually 2021. So on the Qs, what I'll be looking at is I'm looking for a pullback into the 820-day moving average. And as you can see, the 820-day moving average is way down here. So that's in that level. However, like the other indexes, after Monday, it gapped up and it's maintained this gap up. So this whole gap right here is a strong level of support, with the midsection of it being the strongest. So one of the things we'll keep our eye on, TSI overbought, market forecast overbought. However, on the market forecast, that green line can stay above the 80 line and just kind of zigzag along as it builds and moves higher. Now for the surprise is with the one of the things that is always an issue in trading the leverage ETFs is, and why the leverage ETFs, looking specifically at them and trying to trade off of the trade off the technicals on the leverage ETF, you see this. This high here is a long way from this high there. So why is this so far below that? Well, that has to do with every day the fund that manages TQQQ has to exchange and buy and sell entities, primarily futures, stocks, and all kinds of, not stocks, but futures, options, this type of thing, so that they can match a 3-to-1 or 3 times the move on a daily basis. And so what happens is over time that naturally results in a lessening of the value. Now on TQQ, you're still getting a really nice move from down here to up here. You're looking at about a 44% gain. However, what I want to just indicate to you is it's better to use the non-leveraged ETFs to determine your technicals than it is to try to use the leveraged ETF technicals, because they're not as accurate. So if you want purity in your technicals, go and use the non-leveraged ETFs. So Anil, that's all I have for the indexes. What is your take on the indexes?
Basically, right on what you said. The only different thing is on IWM, I have a daily triple screen buy signal effective today.
Okay.
So looks like, according to this system, it's turning, and that's a good sign.
Okay.
And as far as SPY and QQQ, the daily signals are active, weekly yet to come, but looks like the MACD is turning around, so that's a good sign.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I was showing similarly here on the Qs. As you can see over here on the weekly charts, my momentum indicator has already shifted to the upside, both on the TSI and broken out. It has broken structure to the upside. So yeah, I'd be looking for I'm looking to look to buy this. Somebody made a question a little bit earlier. About the aspect of how do you trade a gap up. And so, Jim, the way I would look at doing that is I establish my boundaries of my gap up, if you will. And I look for, if it runs hard and does a breakout, I look for a pullback into the top of the breakout, the top of the gap. If not, I look for maybe a pullback into the middle section of the gap. And oftentimes what some traders will do is they will go ahead and buy the gap up and just make the bottom of whatever candlestick that defines the top of the gap there, as you see, just slightly below that makes that their stop loss. And that's the way they trade the gap ups. So, okay, let me get rid of my... So, yeah, Jake, if I miss any of your questions, please tune in at the 12. That's when the premium members, and so Santa Claus Definition Rally is December 22nd through second day of the trading in January. Yeah, yes, that's the official definition, but most of the institutions start talking about the Santa Claus Rally anytime from the latter part of October into November and on from there. So, Anil, let's go ahead and look at is our stocks. But just before we get into the stocks, I just want to show you where we're sitting at as of, there we go. I am really pushing close to my, my target goal amount for the year, 39.96% as it stands right now. Part of the reason for that is when the rally kicked in, and about 3 weeks ago on October 27th, if you recall, one of my picks was SOXL. Well, SOXL is up about 57% since we jumped into it. And so part of our profits is up in that level. So I'm really pleased with that. And again, I want to thank everybody for the book. And a lot of people are asking, what about a hard copy? What about a hard copy? A hard copy is coming soon. But if you want to get started on the book, you can get it at autopilottraders.com/freedom. And that comes with some about $500 worth of bonus tutorials, like anything from candlesticks to basically how to do the OCO orders. And so it's really an excellent deal. And I want to thank Anil for doing the review and on the book. And so,
the book is excellent. And,
thank you, sir.
I'm learning also a lot of new things. So thank you.
Okay. So, well, I tell you, folks, if you're as thrilled about the market as we are, I want to ask you to stay ahead of the game. Be sure to follow AutoPilot Trading on the YouTube channel. And also you can just get onto our mailing list for the updates that we send out on a weekly basis. Next week is Thanksgiving week, folks. So Thursday, Friday, we'll not have a session on Friday. So enjoy, college football, enjoy, recovering from your turkey or whatever you're having for Thanksgiving, and just take some time on Thursday to give thanks. I mean, that's what it's all about. So aloha and God bless everybody. Thanks, Anil.
Okay, thank you. Enjoyed it.